Okay, vipassana, clear knowing as the aim of vipassana. Is that 1, 2, 3, 4? Huh? 1, clear knowing. Clear knowing is actually a translation of the Pali word sampajanya. Sampajanya. But here it's not sampajanya, Here is vipassana. 2 different words. Vipassana is translated here as distinct seeing. Yeah, clear knowing is sampajanya. So it's not number 1, not number 2. Do you say it's number 2? In Samadhi Bhavana Sutta, you have the third type of samadhi, which is awareness of thoughts, feelings, and perceptions as they arise, persist, and pass away. Right? And this one leads to mindfulness and clear knowing. It does not lead to vipassana. Well, actually, the aim of vipassana is adipanya dhamma vipassana. That's a full term. And what does that mean? It means distinct seeing of things with direct wisdom. With direct wisdom. Distinct seeing of things with direct wisdom. So actually, the distinct seeing comes about because of wisdom. Right or not? You see distinctly with wisdom. And you could say that wisdom could be part of sampajanya. If you look at sampajanya as a range, sampajanya could range from just bare knowing, when you start to be aware of, when you start to identify the sankharas, that is bare knowing. And then as you use your intellect to try to interpret it in a certain way, this is sankhara, it is anicca, it has causes and conditions. That is also another form of sampajanya, but that is more intellectual. Then later on, when you have an intuitive, experiential verification of these ideas, it's really arising and passing away due to cause and conditioning, then that becomes a high-end sampajanya. And that is the adipanya. That is the direct knowledge, direct wisdom. So, but this is also not found directly in the suttas. This is only my personal opinion. My interpretation of the range of sampajanya. So, 4. Okay, 4. And then insight, wisdom. Well, if you interpret adipanya as insight wisdom, then we can say so. Then it is 1. Okay? Let's qualify this. Okay. Next one is eradication of defilements, 3 evil roots. Is it mentioned in our root sutta? It's not mentioned in our root sutta, but it is mentioned in Vijabhagya Sutta. If you look under the function of Samata and Vipassana, on page 128, it says that when distinct seeing, Vipassana is developed, wisdom is developed. When wisdom is developed, what happens? Ignorance is abandoned. So ignorance is one of the defilements. In fact, ignorance is the chief of the 3 evil roots. Because of ignorance, then there is lobha and dosa, greed and anger or aversion. Would this be 1 or 2? 1 or 2? You sure? You could say it's 2 because in that sutta that I just quoted, passion is abandoned by samatha. Right or not? By developing samatha, the mind is developed. When the mind is developed, passion is abandoned. Right or not? And then when you develop vipassana, wisdom is developed. When wisdom is developed, ignorance is abandoned. All right? So to say that vipassana is the eradication of all defilements, including passion, doesn't seem to be consonant with that particular sutta. Because in that particular sutta, passion is abandoned not by vipassana, but by samatha. Right or not? So this one, at best it could be 2, only an inference. Seeing reality, What do you think? Okay, what's your group decision? Any group? What does the group say? Where? Which sutta? Very easy to write 1, 2, 3, 4. When I ask you which sutta, then you have to think about it. Okay, this group. Okay, so 2. For you all is 2. 2, okay, which sutta? Okay, in the root sutta, as I said, the aim is distinct seeing of things with direct wisdom. That is the aim. The other things about viewing, investigating, and distinctly seeing, these are just the steps involved. The steps involved in the process of vipassana. Just like in Samata, the last step is samadhi, but the actual result is internal stillness of mind. So, any other group want to try? How about this group? We say 1, which sutta? Still haven't found out. Put the number first and then think about it later. Okay, how about those groups at the back? Any groups want to try? Seeing reality. Now, if you look at the suttas, Samadhi Sutta 148. Okay, this seeing of reality is actually an English translation of the Pali term Yatha-bhuta, seeing according to reality, seeing according to what has occurred, seeing according to what is. That is various ways of translating the Pali term Yatha-bhuta. So if you look at page 148, it says, among who develops composure will be able to know according to what has occurred. And what does he know as it has occurred? The Four Noble Truths. Right? And then next one also. Also develop composure. So it seems that it's not the aim of vipassana, but the aim of samadhi. So easy lah, just put 4 and then easy. Since we cannot really determine, let's go on to the next one. Liberation. How about liberation? Huh? 1, where? You can say it's 1 only when you see the word vipassana there, you know. Okay, which sutta shows there's the word vipassana? Okay, tell me which sutta? It's on page 128 and it's behind the book, at the back of the book, when it talks about the share of gnosis. But then here it says liberation only. Liberation of what? It doesn't say. But in this sutta, there's a liberation of mind and there's liberation of wisdom, or liberation by wisdom. Okay? So liberation of mind is achieved by samatha. That is the, we could say, the aim, one of the aims of samatha. And liberation of wisdom or liberation by wisdom is, you could say, the aim of vipassana. Right or not? Yeah, because here it says, when you develop vipassana, what happens? Wisdom is developed. And wisdom is developed, what happens? Ignorance is abandoned. So when the ignorant fades away, what happens? There's liberation by wisdom, or liberation of wisdom. But here when people say liberation, they usually mean, popular understanding of liberation means liberation from samsara, right? Or liberation from the defilements. So you could say this is implied from here, because here it just say liberation of wisdom or liberation by wisdom. Actually, it's liberation of wisdom because wisdom is liberated from the cloud of ignorance. Yeah, just as the mind is liberated from passion. Okay, so we put 2. Put 2, Okay, next one. On the object of vipassana, 4 foundations of mindfulness. What is it? 4, 3, 2, 1. 1 Are you sure or not? Where? Which sutta? Tatiya-samādhi Sutta doesn't say vipassana. In Tatiya-samādhi Sutta, the word vipassana and Samata are not even found. Huh? So it's two, how can it be one or is it two? Why is it two? Because in the Tatiya-samādhi Sutta, at the beginning, it says this is the one way for the purification of beings, right? And finally, for the realization of Nibbana. So we assume that this will be the object of vipassana because we also saw that by viewing and investigating sankharas in terms of anicca, dukkha, anatta, that will lead to purification, isn't it? Right? That is also by implication only, because in the Dhammapada verses, vipassana and samatha are not mentioned. So the closest we can get is two, right? Okay, constantly changing objects. This is also 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, right? Because we saw that sankharas have the nature of arising and passing away. Okay? So they are constantly changing.
Even though sankharas have the nature of arising and passing away, I think we all agree on that. But whether they are constantly arising and passing away, like in a very momentary, in a very quick way, I have not seen stated anywhere in the suttas. So maybe if you say, number one, we need a source reference, even if it's implied that they are constantly arising and passing away. For example, there's a sutta where the Buddha speaks about the arising and passing away of the body, the physical body. And he speaks in terms of the body which gets old and sickens and dies. So it's a very long time span. It's not momentary arising and passing away. Even though in the commentaries and Abhidhamma literature we find the concept of rupa kalapas, of tiny particles which arise and pass away very quickly, but that would come from the commentaries and therefore be number 3.
Okay, so what do you think? 3. Yeah, because you cannot find any reference in the suttas that talks about the momentariness of phenomena, not even about the mind. Although the mind is so fast, of course, the commentaries say that at the snap of a fingers, there are millions of minds that would have arisen and passed away, but there is nowhere to be found in the suttas. This is an Abhidhammic concept, Abhidhammic interpretation. So we can say it's 3 then, from the commentaries. Okay, thank you.
Rising and passing away, I think we all agree on that. But whether they are constantly arising and passing away, like in a very momentary, very quick way, I have not seen stated anywhere in the suttas. So maybe if you say, number one, we need a source reference, even if it's implied that they are constantly arising and passing away. For example, there's a sutta.
After I finished editing this clip, I realized that constantly changing is not synonymous with momentarily changing. Let's see what Google has to say. Google defines constantly as continuously over a period of time, always. And it has a long list of synonyms, as you can see here. Always, all the time, continually, continuously, persistently, around the clock, night and day, morning, noon and night, endlessly, non-stop, incessantly, unceasingly, perpetually, eternally, forever, and so on and so forth. As I understand it, the period of time could be a moment or longer, a day, a year, a lifetime, an aeon, and so forth. The sankharas have the nature of arising and vanishing, that is, they arise and then cease. It is already explicitly stated in the suttas, as you can see on pages 1116 and 1117 of our workbook. Impermanent indeed, the sankhara, their nature is that of arising and vanishing. Having arisen, they cease. Their appeasement is happiness. As you can see on page 117, footnote 36. This stanza was uttered by Sakka, the king of Devas, upon the Buddha's passing away. And the Buddha himself also uttered this at the end of two other suttas. Mahasudassana Sutta, DN 17, and Vepola Pabata Sutta, SN 15.20. My understanding is that, however momentarily or slowly and gradually sankharas arise and cease, they are nevertheless constantly changing phenomena. Therefore, I will revert to our original consensus that the popular notion of constantly changing phenomena as an object of vipassana be classified under two, that is, implied in the suttas. I decided not to delete the comment by Ayasma Aryadhamika that the momentary nature of phenomena is not found in the Pali Suttas, but is actually a later development of the Abhidhammikas. Why? Because I think it's a very important observation to share with everyone here. Nevertheless, I need to add a caveat that what is not found in the Pali Suttas need not necessarily be untrue, because the momentary nature of physical and mental phenomena has been verified by modern scientists and practicing yogis. How about awareness of daily activities? I would say that it is two, because sankharas involve everything that arises and passes away, right? Due to causes and conditions. So it would include anything that arises and passes away, including daily activities. So daily activities also, if they are viewed in terms of anicca, dukkha, anatta, should also be the object of vipassana. So let's put two. Ultimate reality. This one should be easy. 1, 2, 3. 3, right? This is an Abhidhammic concept. I've been telling you all many times in this workshop. Okay, going on to next one. How does a vipassana yogi relate towards its object of attention? Clear comprehension. Sambhajanya. Understand clearly. What do you think? 1, 2, 3, 4. Anyone? Well, you got 3 days, 4 days to think about it. And then just now you had a group discussion. Now everybody keep quiet. It's not fair, lah. Where is this? Come on. How many people say 1? Hands up. Nobody. Nobody doesn't say. How many say 2? 3, 4. 4 is the easiest. Don't have to produce any suttas. Well, clear comprehension is defined actually in one sutta. If you look at clear comprehension and sambhajanya, there are 2 ways that it is defined. Clear comprehension is defined as clearly knowing while acting the various daily activities. While you're going forward, turning back, when you're reaching out your arms, bending your arms, eating your food, going to the toilet, you do that with clear knowing, that is called clear comprehension. Okay? And then another one is being aware of your thoughts, feelings, and perceptions as they arise, persist, and go away. That is also clear comprehension. This is defined in the sutta. Okay? But nothing here is mentioned about vipassana. You know? Nothing is mentioned about vipassana. But the commentary says that there are 4 aspects of clear comprehension or clear knowing. This is a good time for me to bring this up. Now, to give you an acronym, easier for you to remember, it's BARR. Right? So, clear comprehension or clear knowing means that you clearly know before you act. What do you know? Okay? Before you do anything, whether you think or speak or do with your body, it is preceded by an intention. Is it not? Right. So, you are supposed to be able to catch that intention and process it. Process it according to this, what I call the bar test. First of all, you see whether it is beneficial or not. Right? Don't simply pursue the thought. Don't simply say what you want to say. Don't simply do what the first intention tells you to do. Process the intention first. Is it beneficial? Number one. If it is beneficial to yourself and to others, you go on to the next one. Is it appropriate? It may be beneficial, but it may not be appropriate. For example, right now, it's beneficial to meditate. But it's not appropriate for you to close your eyes and meditate now because you are supposed to be listening to a Dhamma talk. Right? So what is beneficial may not be appropriate. Okay, so you have to find out if it's beneficial. If it is, you go on to the next one. Is it appropriate? If it doesn't pass the first test, no need to go to the next one. You can just curtail that thought, curtail that intention. Don't pursue that thought. Don't say, don't speak, don't do. Okay? Then the next line is, okay, it's beneficial, it's appropriate. But is it relevant to you? Is it relevant to you as a yogi? Is it relevant to you as a mother, or as a father, or as an employer, as an employee, as a client, as a patient, whatever it is it relevant to you in your station of life at that point of time when you want to think or speak or do? Right? So if it passes that test, you go on to the next one. Is it realistic? It may be beneficial, may be appropriate, may be relevant, but it's so fantastic that it cannot be realized. Okay, now I'm using this in a worldly sense so that this can be applied in your daily life. So that's why I always say that sati sampajanya is so important. You need sati to look back at the thoughts, right? If you don't have sati, you don't look back at your intentions, how are you going to process them? If you look back at your intentions, you can catch them before you act on them, then you can have a chance for clear knowing to occur, clear comprehension. You can process it according to the bar test. If it passes the bar test, go ahead, pursue the thought, speak your mind, do what you want to do. If it doesn't pass the bar test, forget it, curtail it, come back to the present moment, do whatever you are engaged in at the moment. Right, the last one is realistic. Now, to apply this in meditative context, realistic means, is it according to anicca, dukkha, anatta, and conditionality? Right? So this last part of comprehension, of clear comprehension, of clear knowing, is actually talking about vipassana. Only the last part. The first three are not so. The first three are more conventional in nature. So this also shows that we need to have some thinking in order to decide whether something is beneficial, appropriate, or relevant. You need to have a set of values, isn't it? Right? Only when you have this set of values can you process that thought against these sets of values. Then you say, oh, it is beneficial because it is appropriate, because it is relevant, because. So this involves thinking, and this is yoniso manasikara, wise thinking. So one does not necessarily have to cut off all thoughts when one is developing oneself. You have to process your intentions, and in order to process your intentions, there must be some level of thinking. But it's wholesome, useful, productive thinking, applying the bar test. And then finally, if you are looking at it from the meditative point of view, then it is realistic. It is anicca, dukkha, anatta. It rises and passes away due to cause and conditioning. It's not me, it's not mine, not myself. That is the vipassana part. So maybe you could say that this one is from the commentaries. Number 3. Observe it as it arises and passes away. Where is this? 1, 2, 3, 4. We're running out of time. Better give you the answer. Okay. If you look at Samadhi Bhavana Sutta, the last type of Samadhi Bhavana is contemplating the arising and passing away of the 5 aggregates, right? And this will lead to the evaporation of the inflows, right? So this is the arising and passing away. This is how the 5 aggregates arise, this is how they pass away. So observe it as it arises and passes away in terms of its conditionality. The closest we can get is 2, because there it doesn't talk about vipassana. Okay, then go on to the next one. With respect to the 5 senses feature, what does vipassana do with respect to the 5 senses? Observe them. Okay. This would be number 2, right? Because they are sankharas. But it's not stated in the root sutta, so we cannot put it as number 1. See them as they are. See them as they are. Well, I suppose you could say it's also 2. As they are here would mean yatha bhuta, according as they have occurred. 2. See how the mind reacts to them. The closest you can get is 2. Which sutta is it in? Sutta, which sutta is it in? In the definition of vipassana, you're just supposed to do the sankharas in a certain way and to investigate them in a certain way. It doesn't really focus so much on the mind. But there's one particular sutta here which talks about if you just do one thing, then the other faculties will come to completion. That is in Pratitita Sutta 164. So it regards the mind in regard to the inflows and things accompanied by inflows, then eventually the 5 faculties are developed and they will become well developed. Okay? So this is also one thing. And here also nothing stated about vipassana, but you could say it's implied.
Sorry, Bhante, I seem to be getting more and more confused. I go back a little bit on feature. Mm-hmm. The feature here, just now you said still the senses.
Feature, okay.
You said still the senses.
Yes,
so
still the senses.
I said still actually can be substituted with the word tranquilizing.
Well, I said that we cannot steal the senses. You can steal the mind, but not the senses. You steal the mind's reaction to the senses.
Right.
The senses cannot steal one. You can't do anything to the senses.
Okay, so one thing I would like to ask is, how do you interpret bodily sankhara, Bhante?
Again?
Bodily sankhara?
Bodily sankhara, it depends on which context. But actually, in the sutta, it is defined, kaya sankhara, as breathing in, breathing out.
Yeah. And that is not part of the senses, right?
Breathing in, breathing out, I don't know. You could say that it's part of the senses.
So if that is part of the senses, then I refer to Kaya Gatasati Sutta. No. And it says, breathing in, breathing out, I can tranquilize the bodily sankhara, and then you get composure. And in the note, you say that this samatha refrain applies to all the exercises given in this sutta. So that means just stilling of the senses actually can be one.
Yeah, okay. It cannot be one, it's 2 lah. The word samatha is not mentioned. Or the steps of samatha are there, but the word samatha is not mentioned.
But you say samatha refrain applies to all the exercises?
It's called samatha refrain. That's my,
That's your interpretation. So you fall to interpret number 2.
My term for that, refrain. Refrain says the mind steadies, settles, becomes unified, becomes composed.
Yes.
So that's the samatha refrain. But actually, it just shows the steps of samatha.
So
right?
this 2.
So 2 lah. The nearest you can go is 2. But this one is only to one sense, not all the senses. So this one also cannot really be.
So the senses can be 1, can be 5.
As I look at it, for me, breathing in, breathing out, I would not necessarily count that to the senses. The senses, usually when we speak about the 5 senses or the 6 senses. And breathing is just a bodily function, a bodily it is conditioned by the body and it conditions the body, but it's not one of the sense doors or sense spaces. So I would not necessarily see it as a sense.
It's one aspect of the body sense.
The body sense can be aware of the breathing process.
No. What is aware of the breathing process is the mind sense.
Yeah, but it uses the body as an anchor point.
Yeah, I know, but you still the body in the sense that you deliberately still the breathing process.
Right, you still the body, but not the body sense.
Yeah. So
Right.
what is the body sense? Body sense will be the body organ.
Yeah, the body organ.
The body organ. Yeah.
So we don't steal the body organ.
That's why I'm saying you cannot steal the senses. You can steal the mind. You can steal the mind's reaction to the senses. But you cannot steal the senses because as long as the senses are intact, they will have to receive whatever stimuli that comes in. And unless you steal your mind to such an extent that it becomes oblivious of the senses. And that comes only in the arupas. In the arupas, there are no more perceptions of the five senses. In jhana, there can still be perception of the five senses. Okay, next one, expansive. Expansive meaning that the vipassana yogi does not restrict his attention to just one object. He is able to look at many objects. Is 1, 2, or 3? 1? Where? Huh? One I cannot remember. Is this musawada or not? Are you ready somewhere, sometime? Don't know where. Huh? Okay. Well, we cannot really say it's restrictive or expansive because in the root sutta, Tatiya-samādhi Sutta, it talks about sankharas in plural, not a single object, but sankharas. So sankharas being plural means that there are many objects, right? Not just a single object. So in a way, you could say it's number 2, but not really number 1. It doesn't mean that you must only view many objects. You can also view one object, but not necessarily restricted to one object or necessarily must be many objects. You know what I mean? You agree or not? Don't just shake your head. You are free to disagree and give me your views. How many of you say it's 1? How many say 2? You can still argue that it's 1 because the sankhara is in plural. And you can still argue that it's 2 because you are not required to just look at many objects. You can also look at one object. So what is this, 1 or 2? How many say 1? Hands up. Nobody does. How many say 2? No 1, huh? Sure, huh? Okay. So popular demand for 2. So what is this? Step back, open and undistracted awareness. Whoever wrote it.
I can clarify. We were saying, because it was our group that did it, the state for Samata was go into the object. The state for Vipassana was to step back from the object. That was what was intended when we wrote this.
Step back.
Meaning penetrate versus observe from more of a distance. Observe rather than trying to go inside the object, it's taking a step back. That's what this meant when we wrote step back.
And maybe that relates to that sutta that says about being not soaked.
What sutta is that? Do you know?
I forgot.
Okay, so it's clear what was intended here?
Right.
And so I would take open and undistracted awareness as a separate line from step back. Because step back was in contrast to go into, and open and undistracted awareness was actually a separate point.
From your group also?
From the group, yeah.
What does that mean? Open and undistracted awareness.
Ooh, that's a tough one.
So maybe we could just take that one off and put step back
Okay.
and be aware.
Step back and be aware. Yeah, that's good. Step
Okay.
back and be aware.
Right.
I think. Group 4, okay? Step back and be aware. Yep, okay.
Okay, look at page 98. And how, monks, does one live non-negligently? When one lives with restraint over the faculty of the eye, monks, the eye is not soaked in forms cognizable by the eye. For one whose mind is not soaked, joy arises. For one who is joyful, rapture arises. For one with a rapturous mind, the body becomes tranquil, etc., etc. But this is more like samatha, isn't it? It's samatha. When the mind is composed, things become manifest. That's when vipassana comes in.
The popular notion of samatha and the sutta's idea of samatha is sort of opposite, isn't it? One is soaked in and one is step back.
This is one case.
Yeah.
In this particular sutta, yes. This is one particular case of samatha, right? Where you step back instead of zooming into the object. You step back and look. This is also very much like kaya-sati, right? This is very much like guarding the doors of the senses. You actually step back and not get soaked into the objects that are being perceived through the sense doors. You're actually looking at the mind door to see how the mind is reacting, relating, and making sure that the mind does not grasp at the signs and features associated with the objects apprehended at the six sense doors. So maybe there's just samatha, because when you look at the stock passage for guarding the doors of the senses, it talks only about abhijja domanassa, not about moha or vijja. It says you guard the doors of the senses so that even unwholesome states of mind like abhijja and domanassa, likings and dislikings, to translate it loosely, do not flow into the mind. Na anuasaveyung. It does not talk about avijja. So this is probably just samatha, like this sutta, just to compose the mind.
Bhante, I do agree with what you said because, for example, when we practice meditation, we feel pain. Last time in the Mahasi method, we go inside to penetrate the pain. Now, using SOM method, we step back and observe the pain. So when we observe the pain,
You observe the mind.
observe the mind. Oh yes, observe the mind. Make sure that we have no aversion or disliking to the pain. So in a way, we calm our mind down, which is samatha.
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
this is how we meant by focusing the mind, but readjusting the mind, the attitude of the mind, how we relate to the pain. So it's definitely, I would say, the end result is samatha. It's not vipassana because it's just calm the mind. Then, in the vipassana part, the setback might not be necessary. It doesn't need to be always setback because if you want to observe conditionality, sometimes you need to go closer to observe conditionality. Isn't it? It depends how you see it. Because if you want to investigate something, of course you go closer. It makes more sense, isn't it? To conclude my point, setback could be samatha, the example given, and for vipassana, it could be setback or go into it. It depends how you want to adjust your lens. You want to zoom in or zoom out.
No, very good. Okay, it's interesting because in the suttas we also find the word penetrative wisdom. And he says that he sees and he also penetrates with wisdom. So wisdom is the one that goes into the object to understand it, or goes into causes and conditions to understand it. It's a penetrative sort of wisdom.
Maybe this would clear up the disagreement. The two ways of focusing. We might be focusing something because we like it a lot. We might be disliking a lot. But I suppose when we focus in the sense of wisdom, it is about the mind at the time being interested in that, and therefore it just naturally it focuses. Not that it's trying to force something to happen. It's just because of interest, then it just pays attention to that.
Okay, thank you for sharing.
Just now Kaking mentioned about pain, and you take a step back, you consider that as samatha. Am I right?
That's according to the sutta.
Okay,
That's the sutta. Yeah,
Okay.
negligent. There is the whole four-step process of
Because
samatha
of
is
pain,
mentioned.
we're talking about pain.
Yeah?
Pain.
No. This one is talking about not being soaked into the objects of the senses.
Yeah, so when you take a step back, then that is classified. I mean, like Kaki mentioned the example of pain, right?
Yeah,
so
yes.
you take a step back,
Yeah.
you're not soaked in
Yeah,
with the pain.
yeah.
So that is classified as samatha.
Yeah, here in the sutta, it says the mind settles, unifies, and composes.
Okay. My scenario is the opposite.
Okay.
Pain has never been a good object for me since day one. So when there is pain, what I did was, still do, right, is actually watch direction of the pain, of the mind. So when the pain increases, then you find, okay, the fear also increases, the aversion also increases. Then I will let the mind relax. Then when the mind relaxes, you see there is another effect on the pain. It's not so painful anymore. So when it's not so painful anymore, you find, okay, then you watch the mind, it's not so, there's not less dosa. So there's always this, to me, my practice is there's always this interaction between the object and how the mind reacts to the object. So with this continuity of pain, noting the pain, how the mind reacts to the pain, we still classify that as samatha or vipassana now?
Samata vipassanā yuganada. So it's samatha and vipassana yoked together.
Yeah, Bhante, just to clarify, let's say if I'm practicing vipassana, most of the time I'm on top of the wave, seeing the whole thing. But once a while, if I'm interested in something, I just dive in to see what is happening, to get the depth there. Is that correct?
Are you sure you're doing vipassana?
Or that is not called vipassana?
No, I don't know.
Vipassana?
See, when you're above the wave looking at it, how are you looking at it? With what point of view?
Actually, I don't understand what is vipassana.
So that's why I ask you.
All the while when we practice open awareness, sometimes Bhante will say, are you practicing samatha or vipassana? And you see, our yogi will say vipassana. So I will take for granted that open awareness is under vipassana.
No, I always say that open awareness is Ting Chan. Open awareness, if you're just aware of the senses and you don't get caught up in your thoughts, that's just to calm your mind. It's only when you start to investigate, to see things in terms of anicca, dukkha, anatta, in terms of cause and conditioning, that's when vipassana occurs.
That part open awareness is only getting ready.
Yeah, it's only samatha.
Oh, that means it's very shadow. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, you want to say something?
I just want to share my experience. Actually, I asked Jichen Fashi, Taiping Jichen Fashi.
You better introduce him to them, they don't know who he is.
Jichen Fashi is a very famous Zen master. Can I say Zen master? In Malaysia, in the Mahayana tradition, he learned from Sen Yen Fashi in Drum Center, Fa Gu San. The way that he teach is called Zi Guan. Zi is samatha, Guan is vipassana. Okay, they call it. So I explained to him the day when I met him. I explained to him the practice of open awareness or paying attention to the awareness and let all the six senses of Zen to come in. Okay, so I asked him if I practice in this way, is it correct or not? The answer that he gave, he said this is only samatha. There's wisdom. You need wisdom. He said you need to further investigate to see wisdom. So I just want to share his answer.
He didn't tell you how to do that?
I didn't ask further.
Okay. Okay, any more? No? Okay, the next one is thoughts. How to relate to thoughts. Observe but not proliferate. Yeah, in a way, yes. Vipassana is about observing them, how to view them, how to investigate them, how to see them distinctly. So thoughts are also part of sankhara, right? Then you don't proliferate the thoughts, but you could actually proliferate wholesome thoughts. Right effort means arousing wholesome states and maintaining and developing wholesome states to fulfillment. So what happens if these thoughts are wholesome thoughts? Do you proliferate them? Wholesome thoughts pertaining to meditation. So, do you proliferate or you just observe them? Huh? Just observe. Huh? Okay, because you want to observe, to view them as anicca, dukkha, anatta, trying to understand their causality, yeah, their conditionality. So we could say is 1 or 2? 1 or 2? How many say 1? Hands up. How many say 2? Hands up. Okay, let's put 2. Watch them come and go. Huh? Same as the first one, huh? Observe and not proliferate.
I agree. But I would just like to add on to many of the last few points that we have spoken about. So we say observing them and see them as they are, and observe as it arises and passes away. So the key function in order to become vipassana is always to see the anicca, dukkha, anatta aspect or conditionality. So even if you just watch the phenomena, just observe thoughts, just observe the hindrances, this is not yet vipassana, right? But only when we observe it in the light of the 3 characteristics or conditionality, only then it becomes vipassana. Is this correct?
Okay, but then there doesn't seem to be a popular opinion. The popular opinion is that you just observe and not proliferate.
But then it's number 4.
It's number 4. Well, actually, to say that you see the conditionality is also number 2, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's number 2 because it's not found in the root sutta.
So if the popular opinion is just observing phenomena and that this is already vipassana, actually that would be number 4 if we look at it in these terms. Because it's not, or as we understand it from this workshop, it does not yet qualify as vipassana. And we see in the Samadhi Bhavana Sutta, the third aspect of samadhi, it's just watching phenomena arising and passing away, and that leads to mindfulness and clear comprehension, not liberation.
Okay, thank you. So we'll change to 4. So all this will be 4 already. Easy. Actually, this one is a bit different. Watch and investigate them come and go. This is not 4. This could be 2, because in the Satipatthana Sutta, the first exercise in Dhammanupassana is watching the hindrances. See how they arise, and then see how to abandon them, how to handle them, and then how next time they will not arise again. Yeah, so you investigate. You don't just watch them come and go. You investigate into their nature, how they arise, and how to abandon them. So this is 2, with the investigation inside there. Okay, let's now look at the rating. So here in Vipassana is not so bad. We still got a lot of 2s and 3s, less 4s, right? A lot of 2s. Let's see, how many 4s do we have? 1, 2, 3. Only 3 4s, huh? 3 4s, and how many 1s? 1. Oh my goodness, only 1 1. And how many 2s? Oh, 10, huh? Oh, okay. And how many 3s? Oh, 3 3. So at least we are safer, huh? In doing Vipassana. We got 10 2s.